The Depp Heard defamation trial ended with a decisive victory for Johnny Depp. The jury didn't believe Amber Heard's wild and unsubstantiated stories. Instead, they made a decision based on hard evidence and data. I watched the entire trial. I looked at all the data. And as someone who's trained as a scientist, I know that this was a just verdict. So, was there any good that came out of this trial? Any insights that could help us be smarter? One thing I learned is that well-meaning movements are easily exploitable by bad actors. Me Too was hacked by a griefer, someone who used gaslighting to accuse someone else of their own nefarious actions. Many people, including me, assume that Depp was guilty just based on one woman's unsubstantiated claims. I was wrong, and I'm never going to make that mistake again. I learned that we can't let our judgment about the veracity of someone's claims be based solely on gender or race or anything else. We need to look at the evidence and the data. I also learned that heroic women do stand up for the truth. During this trial, we all got to see a narcissistic, gaslighting liar on full display. We also got to see some inspiring and heroic women who told the truth, like Camille Vasquez, Depp's lawyer, who did a skillful job cross-examining Heard under extraordinarily difficult circumstances.
So in this October 2018 interview, you said that you had, quote, donated, end quote, your entire divorce settlement to charity, right?
That's correct.
And in fact, your exact words were, quote, $7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, end quote, right?
That's correct. I made that statement as soon as I got a divorce and we reached the settlement. That's when I pledged it, right then.
Sitting here today, Ms. Heard, you still haven't donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity. Isn't that right?
Incorrect. I pledged the entirety of the settlement, $7 million to charity, and I intend to fulfill those obligations.
Ms. Heard, that's not my question. Please,
what was
try
your
to
question?
answer my question. Sitting here today, you have not donated the $7 million, donated, not pledged, donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity.
I use pledge and donation synonymous with one another.
But I don't. Ms. Heard, I don't use it synonymously.
That's how donations are paid.
Ms. Heard, respectfully, that's not my question.
Can you imagine sparring and maneuvering with such a skillful and manipulative liar? Makes my heart pound just thinking about it. This brilliant young lawyer stood her ground and brought the heat. She handled herself with grace and determination. Her efforts helped Depp win this case and reveal the truth. Another modern-day hero that we met during the trial is Dr. Shannon Curry, Depp's forensic psychologist. Her testimony educated all of us in the proper and improper use of psych tests. She exudes integrity, and her communication skills are extraordinary.
Dr. Hughes says that Ms. Heard has PTSD. Do you agree?
I do not.
Why not?
The results of my multi-method comprehensive evaluation based on carefully selected, researched, relevant test instruments, based on comparing those instruments to Ms. Heard's self-report, all of the legal documents and discovery, there was no evidence of PTSD. Really, the bottom line in a forensic psychological evaluation is a change in functioning. PTSD is an extremely disabling diagnosis. When a person has true PTSD, it is difficult for them to work. You'll see unemployment, job loss. It causes extreme levels of distress and impairment. They become homebound. They can't go to the store. They're certainly not going to events. They're not having success in their film career, usually. They're not exercising every day, pursuing their hobbies, being avid readers, obtaining level 3 sommelier training, having dinner parties with friends, speaking to public groups. Those are just indications of very high functioning And when you're looking for a decrease in functioning over time, that is inconsistent with that decrease.
In contrast, Dr. Hurry followed protocol when she diagnosed Heard, and she nailed it.
I then administered something called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory 2. The 2 means that it's the second edition. And this is something we call an objective measure. And this test has been around since 1943. There are more than 10,000 studies showing that it is appropriate for determining somebody's personality traits. It also measures very accurately any signs of mental illness or dysfunction. The MMPI-2 has a set of validity scales, we call them. These are scales that measure really the truthfulness and accuracy with which a person is approaching the test. And these scales on this particular test have been so well researched over many decades that they've become very nuanced, and they can tell us a lot about if somebody's, for instance, exaggerating, trying to say they're the most wonderful person on earth, or if they're just trying to deny problems, and if they're doing that again in a very clever way or more of an obvious way. The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. With borderline personality disorder, there's this underlying drive of avoiding abandonment. With histrionic personality disorder, that underlying drive is to always be the center of attention. So borderline personality disorder is a disorder of stability. It's instability, and it's instability in personal relationships, it's instability in their emotions, it's instability in their behavior, and it's instability in their sense of self and their identity. People with borderline personality disorder, one of the most common tactics that they'll use is actually physically assaulting and then getting harmed themselves, but mostly we call this administrative violence. So essentially this is saying that they'll make threats using the legal system. So they might say that they are going to file a restraining order or claim abuse, or they might do these things to essentially try to keep their partner from leaving. In the moment, again, they're not consciously thinking, I'm going to keep my partner from leaving right now. They're just thinking, I can't stand this. I hate my partner. They went from idealizing to suddenly devaluing because of the hurt, and they'll do anything to express that big emotion of anger.
I watched part of the trial with my teenage daughter. And you know what her reaction was after she saw Dr. Curry testify? She said, what does she do for a living exactly? Maybe that's something I could do when I grew up. These brilliant, truth-telling women sparked a new vision for the future for my kid and for millions of others. These are female role models that we can be proud of. There's one more thing that gives me hope for the future. After being gaslit, you can change your mind and admit your mistakes. As I listened to all the evidence and testimony in the Depp Heard trial, my heart sank because I realized that I believed something that was an out-and-out lie. And that's why I made a video series about the trial, to be a role model and stand up and say, I was wrong, I made a mistake, I looked at the evidence and data and I changed my mind. I hope that other people can do the same. And there's another reason that the outcome of this trial resonates so much for me. It's because of the dark period in our recent past here in America, when another self-serving liar tried to spin the big lie, and when called out on his gaslighting, doubled down and lined up supporters, all the while accusing his opponent of his own misdeeds. Sound familiar? My personal frustration with the big lie and the liar behind it is part of what fuels my interest in seeing a self-serving liar get called out publicly. I'm hopeful that Depp's decisive victory sends a strong message to everyone about relying on facts and evidence when drawing conclusions. Data for the win.